Good morning. Welcome to Pre-Algebra. This is Pre-Algebra for Wednesday, April the 8th. And today we're going to do a little bit of review, making sure that we are all caught up and we all understand exactly what we're doing. Everybody's favorites. You know what? Before we do the diagram, I'm going to go over it this way. We have a decimal of 2.8 or 28 hundredths. What is the percent? If you want to take a decimal to a percent, you simply move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So we're going to simply go 1, 2, and we have 28%. What about a fraction? Okay, since this is in the hundreds place, we would write 28 over 100. However, if you turn that into me, I'm going to mark it wrong. Why? Because you haven't reduced it. Now, this goes back to way back at the beginning of the school year when Mrs. Turner taught you your divisibility rules. And we know that a number is divisible by 2 if it ends in an even number. If it ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. We know a number is divisible by 3 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. We know that a number is divisible by 4 if the last 2 digits are divisible by 4 or the last 2 digits are 0. We know that a number is divisible by 5 if it ends in a 0 or a 5. A number is divisible by 6 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3 and it's even. Now there's no rule for 7. In 8 we went to 9 and we said if the sum of the digits is divisible by 9, then the number was divisible by 9. If the sum of the digits, if the number ends in 0, then we know that it's divisible by 10. With that facts, and those facts refreshed in our mind, we can look at this and say, oh, they're both even numbers. We know that they're divisible by 2. We also know, because we simply know our multiplication facts, that we can also divide this by other numbers. But we're going to just divide by 2. If you divide by 2, you would get 14 over 100. Oops, I'm sorry, 14 over 50. So I forgot to divide by the bottom. Now, what can I divide it by again? I can divide by 2 again, and I'm going to get 7 over 25. Now, of course, I could have, because I know my multiplication facts, just said 28 divided by 4 is 7. And I know that 100 is divisible by 4 as well. 1, because I know that's a common sense kind of division problem, right? Because 4 quarters equal $1 and those kinds of things. But also because the 100 ends in 2 zeros. That also tells me that it is divisible by 4. Now, let's look at these multiplications of scientific notations. Just a little refresher. We started doing this yesterday. If we have 1 times 10 to a negative second power times 6 times 10 to the 8th power, what's my answer? Step 1, multiply your numbers. 1 times 6 is 6. We're going to multiply that by 10, but to what power? We're going to say negative 2 plus a positive 8 is a positive 6. So my answer is 6 times 10 to the 6th power. Let's try another one. 3 times 10 to the negative 15th power times 3 times 10 to a 3rd power. Okay, so we're going to say 3 times 3 is 9 times 10. Negative 15 plus a positive 3 would be a negative 12. So our answer is 9 times 10 to the negative 12th power. The next one we're going to look at is actually in your book. If you want to look at it, we're going to look at number 17 on problem set 80. It says, use 2 unit multipliers. I'm going to use 2 of these because if you look at it, it tells you we're talking about square. When we're talking about square units, that means inches times inches, or feet times feet, miles times mile, or whatever it is, okay? So we're going to use 2 unit multipliers to convert 90,000 square miles to square feet. Now, that means I have 90,000 square miles. So literally, I have 90,000 miles times miles. And now I'm going to use a conversion to get rid of that. Well, first, how many feet are in a mile? 5,280. Okay, so 1 mile equals 5,280. Where do I need the 5,280, on the top or the bottom? Well, let's think about the mile first. We have 1 mile. Okay, I'm going to multiply this, and I want to get rid of the miles. So I'm going to put the 1 mile on the bottom. Put the 5,280 feet on the top. Okay, so now that you have 5,280 feet, that's going to cancel out 1 mile, but we still have another one. That's why your directions told you you were going to use 2. We're going to do it again. 5,280 feet times 1 mile. Now we're able to cross cancel this out. Get rid of this mile and this mile. That one and this one. So how do I solve this problem? I'm going to simply multiply 90,000 times 5,280 times 5,280. And that's going to be my answer, okay? If you multiplied it all the way out, you would actually get 2,509,056,000,000 square feet, okay? I'm not going to ask you to multiply it all the way out, okay? I do want us to look at probably the thing that you guys dislike the most for some reason. I think you make it harder than it needs to be. And these diagrams, okay? So let's look at the diagram. I've drawn on the board the exact one that's in your book. It's problem number 9, okay? Let's look at this. What is 100% of my problem? I don't know. What I do know that is 36% of the whole is 40%. So 36 is 40% of this number. Do I know what this number is? No. So I'm just going to think, what number? X, okay? How do I find the percent when I have 40% of 36, okay? I'm sorry. 36 is is 40% of what number? Now I want you to think back to your pattern. You know that the percent over 100 times the of equals the is, right? You know that. It's the same as a fraction. So when that is true, what is our percent? What is our percent that we have? Okay, we have 40%. I'm looking at my book here. Let's find it out, the numbers. 40% of what? We don't know the what. We know the is. Okay, it equals 30%. So 40 over 100 of what number equals 36. Now we can solve this because we know how to do this. Okay, we know how to solve this easily. We're simply going to say, let's get rid of those zeros and put 4 over 10 times n equals 36 over 1. What did I do? I simply made it look like an equation that I'm accustomed to. Use the reciprocal of 10 over 4. Whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. These cancel, leaving me n. Over here, I'm going to reduce. 4 is 1. 4 goes into 36. How many times? It goes into it 9. 9 times 10 is 90. Okay, so the first answer that I'm looking at is 90. Okay, so whenever I say that, that's my whole. My 90 is my whole. Okay, so 36 is 40% of 90. Now, what is this percent? If the whole thing is 100%, this is 40, this C has to become 60%. Now, what is B? B is what is 60% of this number. I can do two things. I can work it out and say 60% of 90 equals what? Or I can simply say 90, which is the whole, minus what I know of 36. When I subtract that out, I'm going to get 54. The answer is 54. Okay? So all I did for B was take and subtract the 36 from the whole. That gave me my answer for that one. Hopefully that helps you a little bit more. Let's look at a couple of other ones I want us to go over today. I want us to look at number 19. It looks very complicated, doesn't it? And it's not, okay? What is 19? 19 is asking us to find the volume. It's asking us to find the volume, basically, of a diagram that is nothing more than two triangles. I'm going to turn this here. I've drawn it on the board for you. Hopefully you can still see it. I don't think that's a very good angle.